Hi everybody, Got That Funk here with another video follow-up to the Thoughtful Atheists video classifying theists. Hiya TA, thank you for your well-reasoned comments to my response yesterday. There's a few points I wanted to get to which I didn't really get a chance to elaborate on in my video yesterday. And I also want to draw the discussion a little bit wider than the atheist versus theist thing because I want to make a very serious point about apportioning blame and taking responsibility. First of all, let's do that first. Let's get away from theology for a second and talk about human instincts. I think it's a human impulse that most people share to apportion some level of blame toward a group when it's actually the actions of individuals which have caused the presumption to blame the group. Let me give you a really easy to understand example of this. I know women who have been cheated on by one boyfriend after another, after another, after another. And they have female friends who've had boyfriends who've cheated on all of them as well. Are those women justified in saying that all men are bastards? Do I have to share any of the blame if I was to want to go out with one of these women who've been wronged by so many men? Is it right for her to blame me for the actions of other men? I don't think it is. You know, even if I protest and say, yes, but I've never cheated on anyone in my life, they might say, well, you know, you're still a man. Yeah, but I don't agree with cheating. Well, you know, all men are alike. Are they? Are they? Of course not. That's the answer. Of course not. But these tendencies exist to blame the larger group for the actions of individuals. That's a really easy to understand example. And I want to go on to one that's a little bit more nuanced now. And I want to stress to viewers that the thoughtful atheist and myself, we get along fine. And there's absolutely no animosity here. There's no reason for anybody to think they should pick a side in this debate or anything like that, because it's not a debate, it's a discussion. And I want to make that very clear because I want to make a point here. Now, yesterday in my video, I mentioned about how I don't think it's fair to attenuate any larger degree of blame toward the larger Islamic community for the actions of the September 11th hijackers. Now, I believe that because the hijackers were not acting on behalf of Islam. That's not the case. The men who hijacked the planes and their immediate superiors, their stated goal, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the second man in Al-Qaeda, and Osama bin Laden are both on record after the attacks as having said that the reason the attacks took place was because they wanted the United States Army to get the hell out of Saudi Arabia. They saw the American military presence in the kingdom as an assault on the dignity of the kingdom, and they wanted the Americans to get out of Saudi Arabia. It was a political objective, not a religious one. September 11th was not done to expand Islam around the world. It was not done to promote any theological belief within Islam. Certain Muslims may have tried to justify the attacks by pointing to certain passages in the Quran or whatever, but those didn't justify the attacks, and the attacks were not done because of those things in the Quran. It's true, of course, that religion was used to manipulate various different players in the whole thing, but the bottom line is it wasn't done in the name of religion or for the sake of religion. It was done for a political agenda, and religion was used as a tool to get it done. So we have to be really careful when we're apportioning blame. Now, yesterday, I said that I would only blame the hijackers. I would also blame their immediate superiors and anyone who was fundraising, and I would be quite willing to extend blame to anybody who, after the fact, tried to justify the action or apologize for it, or say that it was in any way reasonable. What happened on September 11th was a crime against humanity. I think it's going too far to call it an act of war, but that's a different discussion for another video. Suffice to say, it was a definite crime, and it was done for political reasons. All right? So I don't think it's fair, therefore, to draw the net around the whole of Islam and say that Muslims should bear some level of responsibility for September 11th. Now, in my video yesterday, I did mention that people who are in the Islamic community who disagree with those actions would behoove themselves by saying that they disagreed. But I have to say, I only think that up until a point. For example, like I said, if someone tries to promote the action after the fact, they're therefore trying to legitimize it, and therefore they share some level of blame, even if they weren't directly involved. By trying to legitimize an immoral act, you become an extension of that immoral act. That's my opinion. However, speaking out against it to distance yourself from it is obviously a good thing. But what about the silent majority? People who neither agree with it nor voiced an opinion against it. How fair is it to blame those people? Now, a lot of us would be tempted to say, well, they should be speaking up, okay? But I'm addressing the thoughtful atheists in particular here because, TA, I know you're an atheist, okay? But your heritage is Jewish. Now, I'm going to use an example. And I want to stress again, me and TA, we get along fine. There is no animosity here, and I am not trying to create an argument. But the state of Israel behaves in certain ways which are illegal according to international law. And in particular, I'm talking in this particular case about the Zionist philosophy of expansion of the state of Israel into the West Bank and Gaza with settlements. The settlements are illegal under international law. Now, because they're illegal, in my opinion, they're also immoral because they are taking away land rights from people who previously had the land as well as their water, etc., etc. It's a complicated issue, but suffice to say, I blame the settlers for settling. I also blame the politicians who are responsible for the policy of settlement building. Anybody who's funding the settlement building, and I include the United States government with that. And I also include the people who are supportive of the settlement building within Israel, whether it be contractors building the settlements or people who are politically supportive of it. But TA, is it fair to blame Israeli Jews who are not supportive of it, who are speaking out against it? Can we blame them? I don't think we can because they're speaking against it. But what about people, Jewish people outside of Israel? Those who support the policy, do we blame them? Those who don't support the policy, do we blame them? Even though you're not a practicing Jew, you're only Jew by genetics, how much blame is fair to throw at you? Should you, as a genetic Jew, I guess was a way to put it, should you feel incumbent to voice your disagreements with Israeli policies wherever you see them, even though it has virtually nothing to do with you? So you see where I'm coming from. You know, some people might be tempted to point a finger at you and go, well, you're Jewish, so you should be speaking out, otherwise you support it. We're walking on very thin ice here. We have to be really careful how we draw these lines of responsibility. That's why I think the only reasonable place to draw the lines of responsibility is around the people directly involved. That's why I said what I said in my video yesterday, and I hope I've made the point. So let me know what you think. If you agree, let me know down below. If you disagree, a video response would be very welcome, and I appreciate any further discussion from anybody else on the outside as well. Thanks everybody for watching, and may all your ups and downs be ups.